So you think we're overselling how unpredictable Talladega is? Watch Kurt Busch in the spring. Running fifth with 6 to go. Contact with J.J. Yaley. He is up and over Ryan Newman. The 2004 champ finished 30th. In the blink of an eye, a great day collapsed for the 78 team.
Dale Jr. made headlines last year when he sat out 2 races following a crash at Talladega. The reason? Lingering effects from multiple concussions. While much of the sports world, especially football, has spent the past decade dealing with the consequences of concussions, Dale was NASCAR's latest visible example. So, is the sanctioning body playing catch-up, or is their treatment of concussions sufficient? We asked the drivers for their opinions on this hot topic.
Oh yeah, I've definitely hit my head pretty hard a few times.
I think everybody has had those hits before.
I mean, I've hit hard enough to knock the wind out of you and give you one heck of a headache.
Every driver's hit hard. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to admit.
Well, it's a serious epidemic that's hitting all sports, NFL, hockey.
There's a reason why race car drivers and people of our nature make a good living at the higher levels. It's because we essentially are getting hazard pay. Take out the risk, take out the danger, and you just have guys driving in circles. We have to be careful just as much to not be too unsafe as we do to not be too safe as well.
I don't know if we need a policy for it. As long as you're smart about it, you know, I think you have the right doctor that allows you to get back on the racetrack when it's time.
I think it's up to the individual. I mean, you know, if I was feeling bad or, you know, my bell was rung and I couldn't see straight, I'm pretty sure I'd tell somebody about it. Nobody's going to put their life on the line, I don't think, to be able to do this.
I remember as the car was spinning through the infield, the crew chief coming on the radio, and they're like, all right, guys, let's get it back to the pits and see if we can get it fixed. And I remember in my head thinking, I don't care if you fix it or not, I'm not getting back in there right now. My head hurts.
You know, if it's a severe concussion, people are going to know. I mean, it's really easy to tell when it's severe enough. But what's tough is when it's a mild condition, regardless of any procedures that may be out there, it falls on my shoulders to be responsible as, you know, to myself and to my family to say, hey, I don't feel right. I think I have a little more than what's going on here. Let's look further. So NASCAR can make the most intense policy ever. You as an individual have to be responsible for that area.
Dale Jr.'s situation was somewhat unique in that he's had a lot of big hits. When they started replaying all the big wrecks that he's had and where he's had maybe some head injuries in the past, it seems like it's a lot easier to get a concussion once you've had one. I thought that was big of him to admit that he was hurt and to sit out. I think that would be a huge challenge to ask anybody else to do in the garage area. But I think it's great that a guy that is kind of the face of our sport, that he did that and has shown that if you are hurt, that it's going to be okay to sit out.
If you drive the car back to the garage area, typically don't tend to have to go to the infield care center, but if you're not able to drive the car back, they take you regardless. They're pretty smart. They're doctors and nurses. They're going to look at you and be able to tell what's wrong with you. If something is wrong, it's going to be difficult to be able to cover anything up. They have these boxes inside the cars that talk about, that tell them the information on the G-forces that the accident was. You don't have to rely on the driver's information. You can actually go to this data and be able to tell how hard the hit was. They stay on top of that. I think they do a good job of it, though, but you can't really get slack on something like safety. You really have to take it really seriously.
It is a serious discussion. Matt Clark back with us, and it seems like Dale Jr. and many of the drivers saying, put it on us. We'll tell you when something is wrong. Dale Jr. leading by example. Where do you weigh in on this discussion?
Well, great insights by our drivers, and I definitely think that they're moving right along the right path. Look, concussions are huge, not only in our sport, but you look at football. Big rulings in the NFL, a lot to do with concussions. High school football teams are putting baseline testing in, so I think NASCAR is moving down the right road. Props to them for moving this ball forward. Without a doubt, has to be addressed, and we have to have more that's done for these guys.
Do you think that there needs to be perhaps some more done by the governing body? Does NASCAR need to step in perhaps? It's a difficult situation, and unlike other professional sports with the drivers being independent contractors.
Absolutely, Daniel. I think that plays big into what they do. I think when you go ahead and you begin to impose stuff, but let's remember this, they don't have a union. They don't have the things that NFL, collective bargaining agreements. So for NASCAR to step in, a little bit more difficult, but truly at the end of the day, it's NASCAR's ball, it's their game. You play by the rules or it's too bad. I think NASCAR will help these drivers really deal with the safety issue of concussions and say, look, guys, here's our baseline testing. You don't pass this, I mean, you can't drive. And really it comes down to who's the doctors that decide these things. You know, so there's a lot of things that go, a lot of water going on the bridge, Danielle, but it definitely has to happen.
Luckily, not a blood clot Brian Vickers dealing with health-wise, or not a concussion, I should say, but a blood clot. Speaking of